Not only do the stars hold a significance for our day of birth, but also hold significance for the day we choose to launch a business. And so if you are someone who is launching a business soon, wanting to start something new in your business, then watch today's video where I'm going to be sharing how to choose your day of business launch according to astrology. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual rebel friend, and today I want to talk about launching your business according to astrology. As I recently just did a reading with a wonderful client of mine who is launching a new personal brand / business, and she wanted to discuss in a reading a whole hour long just dedicated to the question of when should I launch this according to astrology. Now, I'm not normally the type to say that astrology tells you, yes, you should do this now, no, you shouldn't, or even so to say planning your life to astrology to some degree. But as we delved into this concept, and as I've been delving into this concept more in regards to anniversaries and other important events that go on for people in their lives, taking into account the stars of the day, week, month, year you choose to launch your business can be really helpful for intention setting and understanding what is to come in your business. Because some businesses, not so to say are destined for any sort of result, failure, success, but there's different ways we can approach a business that can arguably be given insight through the stars, meaning that the stars may not dictate what kind of business you're going to have and how successful it is, but the date in which you choose to launch your business can be a helpful way of looking at your business objectively and also setting intentions for what kind of business you want to create. So I want to give you guys a bit of an overview into some of the factors I take into account when choosing a date, week, month for a business launch so that you can start looking at the stars and choose when you launch your business. And of course, if you want to go deeper into how to launch your business and when to launch it according to astrology, then I invite you to book a reading down in the description box below, where in 1 hour or 30 minutes, we can go deep into your unique birth chart, your destiny, your career, your purpose, and when can be the best time for you to launch said business according to your stars and the current transits. So the very first thing I covered with my clients in regard to launching a business aligned with astrology is actually not by starting off with astrology. We first have to get clear on intention, which is, what does your business launch signify to you? Because a business launch can mean many different things. This could mean saying coaching is live. It could mean hitting publish on a website. It could mean airing an interview or announcing your book or getting it published on Amazon, or it could mean countless different things. So there's a physical different meaning of your launch, but what's more important than the actual meaning, since there's such a gray space in what a launch can mean, asking yourself, what does the launch signify to you, is very important before we can look at the stars. An example from my client who I worked with, who actually recommended that I film this video, and I thank you for that, you know who you are, is for her, we asked this question of what does the business launch signify to you? For her, this is all about reclaiming herself, owning herself, her authenticity, and being unapologetically her, saying, I'm ready to be seen and I know that's valuable. So for her, this had a lot to do with what we personally concluded was her sun sign, her moon sign, and her midheaven, specifically, which are all co-joined. Her sun, moon are both in Pisces and in her 10th house. So when we were looking at a launch for her, we were considering Piscean themes, as well as additionally other themes as well. But that was where we started with, was what does the launch signify for you? And then we go to the chart and identify if there's a certain planetary energy in our chart that really symbolizes that well, because that is an energy you want to lean into. Simply put, as I always say, is any sort of positive event involving your 10th house energy, 2nd house energy, and 6th house energy could be good for a launch. For example, let's say you had your 10th, 6th, and 2nd house were all earth signs. A grand earth trine would be a really great day to launch a business. But we're trying to keep this somewhat practical and aligned and orderly here, so trying not to go too much on tangents. So we start off with asking a question of what does the launch signify to you? Then if you can find a planetary energy in your chart that best signifies or symbolizes that, we want to choose an astrological event that aligns with that. Secondarily, we take into account the birth chart that we want the business to have. So not only do we have birth charts for ourselves, for when we were born, but also when we birth a business or birth a relationship or birth a new partnership. We like to take that into account. It doesn't have to be predictive, but it can give us insight into what may come up. In this example, relatively also, I recently pulled a chart for my parents' anniversary, their wedding anniversary of 28 years. And so we looked at their original birth chart from when they got married 28 years ago. And we saw some really strong themes present with where the sun was. That was like the energy of the relationship, what they needed to remember. Where the North Node was, where Mars was, where the moon was. This all seemed to really symbolize what the theme of the relationship was. And so similarly, the concept remains the same for when we launch a business. The placement of the stars, it's almost like as if you're giving your business a personality. So for my client, what this means is not only should you take into account your intention, what the launch signifies to you, and if there's birth chart energies you want to align with in your chart, but also, simply put, we talked about, okay, where do you want the sun to be? And she started off with saying, like, I really don't want this to be a Virgo baby. I really don't want this to be a Virgo business, because wherever the sun is, the moment of your launch, that is likely going to be the kind of a general theme that your business takes on. So for example, if she had launched her business or chooses to in the end during the Virgo season, it would mean that her business oftentimes flourishes and thrives the more she prioritizes practicality, stability, and selflessness within her business, her approach to it, and what it serves. Whereas on the other hand, if she launches her business as she wants to during Leo season, her business may thrive better and be more vital and energetic and flourishing is the word I'm looking for, when she prioritizes authenticity, leadership, confidence, and play. So again, it doesn't have to dictate in a authoritarian, predictive way what your business will become, but we started off with asking, well, like, what do you want this business to represent? If it's a Virgo, if this is true, how will this make you feel about the business? Was helpful for her. And this is arguably something that I saw when pulling a chart for my parents' anniversary. Their sun was in, I believe, Leo. Yeah, because it was only a couple of days ago. And so they really feel like, oh, our relationship thrives the most for sure. And we feel the most energetic and vital together when we prioritize play, authenticity, and confidence. And so your sun sign for your business launch can dictate what kind of themes may want to be prioritized within the business. So if you choose to start your business in Aries season, you may feel like your business thrives more the more you focus on authenticity, independence, and being bold. Versus if it's in Cancer season, focusing and prioritizing your emotional well-being could be more of a theme. And of course, looking at your own chart and then asking, where does this activate in my chart, can be helpful as well. But not only do we take the sun into account, we took in more aspects as well, which is two of the major ones I want to touch on to, so to say, conclude the segment, because we really could go into every birth chart aspect, but that's a lot to go into, is Mercury, for one. I will say there's not many transits I would say definitely don't start a business during, but Mercury retrograde is the stereotype for one of them, because when Mercury is retrograde, we are reflecting and revisiting. Now, in the case for my client, we were talking about how Mercury was a concern for her, as it's still not fully out of retrograde and it still has to transit back over all the ground it's already covered. But being in post shadow period is not necessarily the worst thing for a business launch, but taking into account how you want to, where you want Mercury to be, can kind of paint the picture in how you communicate within your business and how you think about your business. So if Mercury is in Leo, maybe you think about your business in more of a playful way. If your Mercury was in Libra for your business launch, maybe you have to focus on communicating in diplomatic ways. Mercury can kind of tell you maybe how you have to handle communication for your business. So taking that into account for its birth chart, so I say, could be helpful. And then the North Node. What do you want it to grow into? Where do you want to be challenged to grow in your business? This is one that I really notice, especially for anniversaries, as I did for my parents. Their North Node was in Virgo. and how much it indicated how much their growth together in the relationship did revolve around cultivating more stability, practicality, and selfless orientation together. And so similarly for your business, looking at where the North Node is and asking yourself, do I want to be challenged to grow into these themes in my business? If that is something you are okay with. Meaning, like, if you're gonna launch a business anywhere within the next year, until July of next year, your North Node is gonna be in Pisces. Do you want to be naturally good in your career? How would it feel to be naturally good in your career at selflessness, practicality, detail orientation? But also, are you open to being challenged to grow into more spiritual ideas, to take on more trust and openness, to practice more compassion and faith? So every different birth chart aspect does play a role in the day you choose to launch a business. And you can look at this in a specific day. For my client, we did pull a few specific dates she was considering. On that note, one thing I didn't mention is I would not recommend personally launching a business during eclipse season, though I'm open to people, of course, disagreeing with me. But overall, eclipse seasons are a time where destined events are coming our way. And so pushing anything too hard may feel like confusion and resistance, as the universe is trying to give you clear indications during that time. So, point being, there's many different facets we can look into when launching a business, but this is a really great tool to ask yourself, what archetypal energies show up for me in my life? What archetypal energies do I really want to taint, so to say, my business? And how does this change my perspective and how I approach business? I think in the end, looking at the astrology of a business launch is really beneficial in asking yourself, there's so many different ways to approach business. There's 12 different ways of communicating, 12 different Mercuries. What kind of communication style do I want to embrace in my work? There's 12 different Mars signs. How do I want to focus on work? Do I want to work in diplomatic ways like Libra? Do I want to work like a Scorpio? How do I want to be challenged? Asking yourself these questions for your business launch can be really great for getting in the right headspace and energetic space to attract the success that you're looking for your business. But in the end, as a conclusion too, I will say as a final note that if you're interested in this video, if you've watched this far, you're probably the kind of person who wants to choose a successful launch for your business. And it's very important to you that this becomes a success because it probably feels like your purpose and your mission. Do note that while this can be a helpful tool to look at the stars for your business launch, that it will not dictate your success. Remember that you can't get it wrong, you'll never get it done, and that if it's meant to be, it will be. And if you truly are doing something in alignment with your purpose, even if that's one small step or the perfect vision of your purpose, the universe will send you success your way, regardless of whether Mercury is in retrograde, if it's eclipse season, if it's in Virgo, all the things. So let me know down in the comments below if you like this concept of choosing your business launch date according to astrology. If you want more in-depth videos talking about this concept, as this was a general overview, and what you currently feel about the matter. Are you launching a business? What is your business about? What does a launch mean to you? When are you considering launching and why? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name is Isabel. From my heart to yours, namaste.